Hey guys, how's it going today? My name's Aurier, and today I want to start a new series on my channel where basically I'm just going to tell you guys stories about my life. This isn't going to be like weekly, it's not going to be daily, it's going to be when I feel like sharing some stories, and this is definitely a story that I feel like sharing, and I bet you guys are all very interested based on the thumbnail and title of the video. But yeah, this is going to be about the time that I was trapped in a hurricane. Okay, to start this video off, let me start by saying this was between my 7th and 8th grade summer. So when I was in 7th grade, I decided that I want to do something unique for my summer, so I decided to do this trip called Broadreach. And what Broadreach is basically an organization that sponsors a bunch of different trips that you can sign up for. So you still have to pay full for them and everything, but they just allow you to do them and kind of organize them and set them up for you instead of making your parents do all that crap. But anyway, if you guys actually want me to make a video on my experience at Broadreach and like everything on the boat, which I'll probably do eventually, I'll make that in a different video. But anyway, so I was down there by myself with a bunch of random kids that I had no idea who they were, and some crew that I also barely knew. So the trip lasted about 3 weeks, and about 2.5 weeks through, we stopped at our last island called Neva. Now, Neva is like a super unprotected island. It's literally just a giant volcano in the middle of the fucking ocean. It's right near St. Bart's, and St. Kitts, so if you guys want to Google search it, or Google map it, then that's where it is. But yeah, so this island basically had no protection, and the wind would just whip around it, and it was super unsafe for any type of weather. So we timed it pretty well that when we originally got there, there was no real bad weather. However, as many of you guys can already tell, we kind of ran into a problem, and that problem was a freaking hurricane. Now, we were already scheduled to go home. Like, we already had to be back in a day, I think, to get back to St. Martin for our flights, and to make sure that we were all going to make it home and not miss our flights. But then we obviously ran into the problem of the hurricane, and one of the boats did not want to leave. We were in a group of 3 boats, and we basically were all our support network if anything went wrong. And one of these boats with one of the captains was like, hell no, we can't leave. We have to stay on at least some type of mooring. We can't go sailing in a freaking hurricane. But we all really need to make our flights. So majority rules, and 2 out of 3 boats were like, nope, we're going. So all 3 boats decided to head out the next morning. Now, I'm pretty sure you guys can imagine that for a bunch of 12, 13-year-old kids, we were all freaking bugging out. We were like, what the fuck? We're going through a hurricane. This is going to be crazy. We're all going to die. Like, can we text our parents and tell them we love them? Like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. And the captain and everyone were like, no, calm down, like, we'll be fine, we're just gonna motor through it, like, you guys won't have to do anything. So we got up the next morning, and we already were kind of scared, because as soon as we got up, like, we all slept inside that night, because we knew it was gonna be raining, and we usually slept outside, and when we walked out on deck, it was just howling. Like, the waves were already really big, and the wind was blowing, and it was just a really, really scary situation. And the captain could pretty easily tell that we were all scared shitless, so he was like, you know what guys, just help me with the mooring, then you guys can go inside, take some Dramamine, and just pass the hell out. And basically what Dramamine is, for those of you who don't know, is like a sleeping pill, and people use it a lot when they're like on planes and stuff, just to, not feel like airsick, I guess. But yeah, so we helped him get off the mooring, and then we all just went inside. And I think 80% of the group were so scared that they had to stay with the diving instructor in the cockpit, or galley area, I guess you could call it. But a couple of us, decided, what, we're just gonna go sleep. And I went down to my room that I shared with 4 other guys and just passed the hell out. Flash forward about 2 hours, and I wake up just absolutely seasick. I look out the little porthole window, and I can just see the waves crashing up past my window, and I was like, oh shit, like, this window's pretty close to the top of the deck, like, I want to go see what's going on. And I also really needed to frickin' puke. So I walk up on deck, I pass everyone in the cockpit who was just completely KO'd. I mean, like, you could have shaken them and like thrown them overboard and they still wouldn't have woken up. They were that passed out because they had taken that much Dramamine. They were so scared. But me, I just casually walked out onto the deck and was like, hey captain, I need to go puke over the side of the boat. So I went over, did my thing, didn't actually puke, just ended up dry heaving a bunch, and I was like, yeah, you know what, I'll be fine, and went back inside. Now, I went back inside not because I wanted to, but because I was freaking forced to. The captain did not let anyone out on deck because it was blowing 60 with 70 to 80 knot gusts, and that's miles per hour. And if you guys don't know how fast that is, just drive down the highway at 70, 80 miles per hour and stick your hand out the window and you just get whipped back. It is scary. And what made all of this worse was the captain's cockpit that he sat in to steer the boat and, keep us on course was outside. He had to battle the elements while we all got to stay inside. So I think the waves were like 20 to 30 feet at biggest, and it was just scary. You would watch the waves like roll up, you'd go down them and up them, and you could when you got to a peak, you just look over and you could see all the way down, and just it looked like you were just gonna drop off into the frickin' oblivion, like something out of the fucking Pirates of the Caribbean. But our brave captain was like, yeah, we'll be fine, guys, don't worry about it. And then I look outside and he can barely keep his head straight. I joke you not, he was trying to look forward and his head was at 45 degrees while his eyes were still looking forward, because the wind was that strong that he could not keep his head straight. And this wasn't like some, skinny guy that didn't have any muscle on him or anything. This was a pretty buff dude, young dude, and he couldn't even keep his head straight because the wind was so strong. And what he actually ended up having me do was get him freaking scuba diving goggles. And if you haven't seen those are the big ass ones with the nose piece and everything, because he couldn't keep his eyes open anymore and the rain was hurting his face so much that he couldn't see. It was just terrible. So I ran down and grabbed a scuba mask for him, because I was like, oh my god, if our captain can't see, what happens if a rogue wave comes out of nowhere and freaking hits the boat? So I was actually sprinting through the cockpit, and I actually woke up my dive instructor, and she started freaking out, which woke up actually one or two of the other kids who started freaking out, and it was just a really bad situation, because they're like, oh my god, why is Henry running through the freaking boat, trying to get a scuba mask, what's going on? But yeah, then I came running back through and calmed everyone down. I was like, no, he just needs this to see. And I basically just had to duck my head, hold on to anything possible when I was outside, because if I let go, I was basically going to get blown over off the back of the boat. And it was so hard to stand, because also the waves, and just the wind and the rain, just everything made it almost impossible to live. But nonetheless, I gave him the goggles and went back inside to calm everyone down, because they had woken up and they were freaking out because it had actually gotten a lot worse from the time that they had gone to bed. We thought it was bad when we went to sleep, but it just got so much worse. And also another thing that made the situation worse was that the two boats that we had been going together with and planning on staying right next to the entire way through the storm, one had fallen behind and one had gone out in front, and we were basically right in the middle and we couldn't see either of them. We had no idea where they were and they had no idea where we were, and it was just a terrible situation. So for the next 6 to 8 hours, we just rode through the storm at 5 knots. And that is very slow. That is a crawl speed for a boat. And we were just rolling up and down the waves, and we were just riding out. We were like, okay, we really just need to stay afloat and not get anyone killed. And I remember you could see these dark clouds coming across the water, and they were just these squalls that would hit the boat with 80-knot winds and just rock you. You could feel it when it was coming, and then you just look out and you're like, oh my goodness, we're about to get crushed. But we were eventually able to ride out the storm and get all the way back to St. Martin on a trip that usually would take 12 hours from Neva, and it took us around 16, I think. It was just a long ass trip and just so much adrenaline going, so much stress. I thought I was gonna die multiple times. And there's no doubt that this was the scariest situation I have ever been in my life. But we made it, and then we waited about another 2 hours for the boat that was slower than us, and they were able to make it, and we found the boat that had made it in front of us, and everyone made it safe, no one was injured. But still, there were some moments where I thought the boat was either going to capsize or turtle dive, and it was just terribly scary. Yeah, but I think the only real repercussion from that adventure was that the captain had a stiff neck since his head was turned at a 45-degree angle basically the entire trip. But besides that, I don't think any equipment was injured. I don't think any person was injured. I think everyone made it back safe and sound and eventually was able to get on their flights back home to see all their loved ones. And I still talk with these friends from time to time, and we always relive that, oh my god, imagine if we had to do that again, could we do that again? But yeah, it was pretty crazy. But anyway guys, that does wrap up this story. If you guys want to hear more crazy stories about my life, please let me know in the comments below. Also, if you did enjoy the video, be sure to share, like, and subscribe for more. But anyway, guys, I hope you all have a fantastic day, and I hope you all had a fantastic Father's Day, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.